Hi, and welcome back to From the Coach's Desk. Today we're featuring Lake Sumter Landing, one of my favorite places in the village, because every night, 365 days a year, there's a band there. So from 5 o'clock till 9, you can go listen to music. People are dancing all the way around the bandstand. Golf carts are parked all the way around the square, listening to the music. The restaurants on the square are usually full, especially their outside areas. It's just an amazing place. Not far from this location, Kathy and Rocky and I like to have picnics. Um, we did before the pandemic. Hopefully we'll get it started. Great place in the villages. Today I want to talk about successful leaders having excellent emotional intelligence skills. When all hell's breaking loose, successful leaders are as cool as cucumbers. My wife said I had ice for my veins. Why is that important? People watch people they think know something that could impact them in a stressful situation. Let me give you a couple of examples. I used to take teammates when I worked for medical equipment companies, cardiology, pulmonology, critical care equipment company. I used to take new team members into a hospital, especially the ICU, and walk them into a patient's room that I knew was on our monitor. I'd have the person stand by the door while I walked up to the monitor and looked at the monitor. And I'd see their heart rate spike. And I'd smile and I'd look at the patient and I'd say, "How are you? I'm John Daly. I'm from Marquette. We're the company that manufactures these monitors, and I'm just here checking your monitor. It seems to be doing great. I hope you have a great day." And I would walk out with a big smile on my face. While I turned around, their heart rate dropped back to normal. I'd get outside the door and ask the team member, "What did you just learn from that situation?" The team member would usually look at me like, "What did you just do?" And I said, "You see the heart rate go up? Did you hear the heart rate go up when I walked up and started looking at the monitor?" And they'd say, "Yeah." And I'd say, "Did you see it start to come down, get back to normal?" When I told them I was from the monitoring company, everything was fine, and I was smiling. And they'd say, "Yeah." And I said, "Here's what the takeaway is. You are perceived to be an expert on this monitor. You better be. And the clinical information that people take away from it. So when you are in there looking at that monitor, and you're not saying anything about what you're doing there, the patient can start to assume that they're in trouble. The family members can start to assume maybe something's wrong. If you're there teaching doctors and nurses how to use new monitors, they could perceive you're seeing something that maybe they should be seeing, and they start to get nervous. So it's our job to have ice water in our veins. We just control our emotions. We make sure we're very clear on what we're doing so people don't misread it. And let me give you another example. I was asked to do a talk at a New York law firm to a group of bankruptcy attorneys, about 40 of them. Big room, big square, where they line tables up in 4 sides in the room and everybody sits around. My job was to talk about how I saw turnarounds, what caused them, what we usually have to do to fix them. But the senior partner, the managing partner, wasn't there yet. So we were all sitting and waiting. You could hear people whispering, talking around the room, nothing important. And the assistant came in and said to me, "John, the partner's not going to be here for a few more minutes. His car broke down on the bridge. He's getting a cab. He'll be here shortly." I said, "No problem." And we just continued to talk amongst ourselves. She didn't tell anybody else. And so he came in a few minutes later, obviously a little disheveled, a little stressed. from being on a major bridge in New York City with a broke down car and then being late for a meeting. And he said, John, go ahead and get started. Sorry, I was late. And I said, would you mind if I take a minute to see if I can use this example to make a point? And he said, sure, go ahead. So I went around the room of those 40 lawyers, asking different lawyers what they thought had just happened. Why was the partner late? Why did he seem to be stressed? I got examples like, the firm's in trouble, we lost a major client, we lost a major case, somebody's going to get fired, somebody just got fired, everything but what actually happened. These people were making up stories about what had happened from their perspective. We used to say you are all the moments up to and including this one. Well, for all these lawyers, wherever they'd been at the beginning of that day, or the day before, they had come up with a background of what they thought was going on in the firm. And then they looked at this situation with a partner and they came up with their own scenario. And most of them were obviously stressed about it. How is that going to affect their job? How is that going to affect the firm? The senior partner obviously was shocked. And he explained that his car had broke down on the bridge and he had to get a cab and he was sorry he was late. Everything's fine, don't worry. They made assumptions that stressed them out. So what is that like? Well, it takes about 15 minutes for your body to start producing stress hormones. Cortisol, whole list, I go over them in the workshop. The stress hormones disengage your frontal cortex and engage your primitive, your amygdala, which is a little part of your brain in the back of your head that's used for fight or flight. It's primitive because that's what saved people from saber-toothed tigers and bears and snakes and all those things. It disengaged everything but what you needed, either run or fight. It restricted blood flow to the limbs so that if something happened to a limb, you wouldn't bleed to death. It focused most of the blood flow to your organs. It gave you amazing ability to run if you had to, and in some cases, amazing ability to fight. But it was all emotion. So those hormones start to produce in about 15 minutes after you become stressed. And it takes no time at all. Picture four glasses of water. Glasses of water, the first glass is clear. That's you with no stress hormones. Each glass after that is a little more red until the fourth one is very red. That's the stage as your body goes through, as your body produces stress hormones, which is only intended, if you think about it, for it to be in your system a few minutes, because it's just for fight or flight, right? And it's supposed to get back to normal quickly, so your body doesn't do well with long-term stress hormone levels. It takes like 15 minutes to start, but once it gets going and your glass is red, it takes 4 hours or more to clear those stress hormones out and get you back to normal. 4 hours or more, where you tend to be more emotional, you tend to not think rationally, but think emotionally. So what does that do to your creativity, your productivity? What does that do to your ability to make good decisions, important decisions? Well, it diminishes all of that. The more your glass is red, the worse it is for you to make important decisions. Creativity, productivity all suffers. So for 4 hours or more after that, you're not going to be very productive. You're not going to be very creative, and you are not going to make great decisions. I can tell you, the first time I got a ticket was when I was upset, driving from Moline, Illinois to Peoria, Illinois, and I was really upset, and I just barely got out of town, and boom, I got a ticket. I made bad decisions. I backed out of my driveway here in the Villages, I think a year ago, right into a truck. Now, I should have seen that truck at the end of my driveway. But my wife was in the car and somebody else was in the car, and there was heated discussion going on. And so I made poor choices, poor decisions. So I used to see managers have upsets within their department. Sometimes major, I call them adult temper tantrums. Could have been the manager, it could have been the employees. Do you ever notice how fast it spreads? It's contagious, these emotions. I'd pull the manager aside and I'd say, so you're going to send the team home for at least 4 hours, maybe give them the rest of the day off. And he'd look at me and say, John, I can't afford to do that. And I'd say, can you afford to have them around here if their creativity and productivity is going to suffer? And if you're definitely not in a position to be making important decisions, can you really afford to have them here for the next 4 hours? Maybe the person should stop the stress before it starts. And that's what a good manager, a good leader, an advanced leader does. They take a bad situation, a challenge, and look at it as a learning situation, a way to improve everyone's skills, help them figure out solutions, creativity of great solutions, and then help them implement them. And then make a big deal out of the fact that they took this challenge and they grew from it, they learned from it, but they overcame it and they're better for it now. That's what an advanced leader does. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you soon somewhere else in the Villages. You have a wonderful day. If this topic was of interest to you, go to dailygroup.com under our services, and you'll find workshops and coaching on just this topic. Have a great day. Take care.